Hey guys, this is me and Ryan. I asked Ryan to join us this morning. He's been getting awfully strong recently. And I found that I don't really understand a lot of how he thinks about the game, his perspective. And I just had a whole bunch of questions I wanted to ask. So I figured let's make a video about it. So here we are, and we'll see how it goes. Okay. He's the Whitestones. Standard stuff. Pretty standard. Okay, here. Question 1. I like quite A because the top looks just really nice and ripe and wonderful. I'm eager to play B because if he's particularly stated, I want to do something big on the bottom. And he has this juicy open skirt. You with me so far?
Yep.
Yeah. And then we have the left. I know it's a standard idea to pinch this stone.
Yeah.
And we start a whole, wow, that's loud, a whole process here.
Yep.
Okay. So these are the first 3 moves that come to mind. Now, when I'm playing, I'd say it was about, I'll just say, I'm not sure of the dates here, 4 years ago, I spent about a year, even 2, saying, I'm going out of my way to not play any of these moves. I want to claim that a move like this has full value, period. It has it.
Yep.
It might bring a more difficult game for me, but it can't be losing unless I'm playing AI. I mean, if you know what I mean. So that was fun and I learned a lot. But at this point, I'm still going to be playing A, B, or C most of the time. So far, you're in agreement? You have something in addition?
Yeah, I'm in agreement, and I think that the 3-3 might actually be the best move if my recollection serves from when I reviewed it with AI. So I would add a couple comments. So B,
Please.
I kind of I perked up right away when I saw M4, right? Because normally that's at M3. So black playing that on the 4th line is a little interesting. And so we can do something, right? Like at B later. But I think it's too early, right? Like that's not really the biggest
Right, I had the
part of the
same
board.
feeling.
And I had the same sense for here. So locally, this is like the first move that I think of when black approaches here. But this has happened so early, right? And the top is so wide, the right side is so wide that it's simply, I think, not really time for this. Although
Yeah,
this is probably a fine move. Like
exactly. Fine
these
move,
two
but yeah,
these 2 stones don't need any more help, right? It's
yeah.
2 against 1 already. Um, and the kind of the human reasoning I had here, which yeah, I think AI thought that this was like the best way to play for white. I just didn't want to make this harder for myself later, but that's just
Uh-huh.
like human reasoning, and this is
Yeah.
probably fine anyways. So, yep.
Okay, this is interesting. So perhaps when I was saying A, B, or C are the obvious moves, there's something different about D. And I'm not sure how to state it. It's like, well, A is obvious because white has his 2-stone wall facing the top. I'm approaching a corner. What could be the problem? Well, perhaps there is no problem, but these 4 black stones look like they're taking a whole third of the board all by themselves.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is that's the largest suggestion on the board. And D just nips it in the bud. Do you
Yeah,
think
it
that's
is kind of like the double wing. It's a little wider than usual, right? But
right?
even back before AI, we kind of had this understanding where if there was a double wing, that the 3/3 was like the weakness, and maybe that still applies here, even though
Okay.
M4 and C12 are a little further than we would normally think of a double wing.
So then we can say that it's pretty reasonable to look at these 4 black stones, saying black is clearly doing something on a large scale. Everything else is, I'm like, hey, it's awfully nice. If we look at it, once I get on the right button here, yes, this looks nice, but I'll just put it here. Black's is bigger.
Right.
So something this simple. Okay, that's helpful.
And then black is gonna have to decide which side to block too, which
Yeah,
he gets to choose. But it is interesting, right? Like,
yeah.
does he want to do the bottom or does he want to do the left? Because he has both, and he has to make that choice.
So maybe my ABC is a strategic concept while D's just, duh, black's bigger. He's doing a bigger Mario, so let's just come on in.
Could be.
Okay, so keep it simple, stupid. Okay, that's helpful. You're in here, move. No. And black starts in. I don't see a problem with that. Okay. Now, how did you decide? I can't imagine you read out all of A and all of B.
Yeah, so this is something I just know basically from studying it in
Uh-huh.
Younguseng Dojan. So basically, what I'll say is answering on the outside at B, you can think of it as kind of like the defensive answer for white, which might seem a little counterintuitive because normally, being on the inside rather than the outside would be like getting safety. But when earlier we were talking about this, right? So basically, going to have to look at a couple of variations and then
Please.
compare. So in this case, when white has the stone on the outside, then the standard move is to Hane on the inside, and we just get this pattern, right? It's going to be like this. We have to play at the vital point. And now because this stone is here, like black has to come out essentially, right? So kind of the key point is that this helps in the fight. And then white will usually play at A or B. Let's do A. Once these 3 stones are safe because white jumped out, there's the double cuts here, right?
Yeah,
so
just the kill. Yeah.
Black has to fix, and then we fix, and we can see that this stone,
has done a great deal of work. Yeah.
Right, and it's still in a pretty good spot, and black still can have some issues. And the key thing here is that like black has to play here to come out, right? Because otherwise we're just kind of surround like that.
Yeah.
So if we do the same thing in the game position, we're not going to have that helping stone. And so if black plays the same way, this won't be so bad.
Black can just start coming out or doing anything. Okay.
Well, so if black plays like this, I think it'll probably be fine. But the thing is, black can also play this move in this case because to explain this. So when black plays here and then white obviously plays here, if there's a stone at A, black now has to come out, and then so we end up in this situation, imagining that there's a white stone here. But if there's not a white stone here, black can play this one, right? We're not going to help these two stones get stronger. And now there's no stone here, so we can't surround, right? In this case, we could do this. So black cannot play like this. But in this case, now it's just like there's nothing we can do to take these immediately. So we have to help this. And it's just going to become a fight.
Yeah.
It's like, why do we want to fight if we weren't prepared for the fights? I know that was kind of complicated.
Yeah. Okay. So if we have the extra stone, we can see the aggressive stance here.
Yeah, we're ready to fight.
Okay. And if white doesn't have that stone,
then we should take the defense.
Then just let black, in a sense, let black have his deal and we take our deal. And just
because we already played away, right?
Simple, right? That's the simple view. Okay, good. Very helpful again. Man, I'm learning so much. Okay. Black.
Could I show one more thing here? Just
please.
Because this was kind of like a misplay. So basically there's only on this board, there's only one move for black, which is here. If black can, he would like to play here. But on this board, this is just a ladder and it's good for white. So black can't play that way. So in general, when white Han is on the outside, there's two choices. If we can go further, we like to go further, right? It's kind of like if we can double Han it.
Right.
But if we can't, we just play here. And then, white, the 3/3 is obviously a vital point. Black Hane, we have to fix. Black fixes. And this is like the Joseki, right? Yeah. And so people tend to keep playing from here, like in this position, because it's a weird shape, but this is actually done. Black is connected, just to show this. Like, black's connected.
Yeah.
So
something
like that. So this was, this isn't a great move, essentially.
Right. It's when we see our opponent play a mistake, I have a horrible habit. In my head, I claim that I've won the game. It's just, I've won the game. It's like it's such a long game.
Yeah.
I mean,
as we'll see later in this game, there's many chances to throw a game away.
Okay, so we're here. Oh, right. This is my first thought, but then it's like, well, of course we can play this because whatever he does, he's got to come back. Okay.
I wanted to do even more. Actually, I wanted to play B15, but it didn't, because that's an even more severe
that's
point.
It just vital point in the shape. Yeah.
It looks like if black just calmly connects at C16, it's not really going to work out. For me, so.
Okay. Makes sense. Now, something Q players do all the time. Let's say Atari. Get rid of the eye. But Q players that are watching, the Liberty, these 4 white stones have lost a Liberty. And you just have to trust me. And I know Ryan's thinking the exact same thing. It's going to hurt you every time. It always comes back to bite you. So don't use up your Liberty unless you have to. Okay.
It's enormous. I want to underscore that because
enormous.
I think like it took me a while until I really had like the Liberty sensitivity. And I remember one time Mr. Yang like basically just told me like stronger players. It was like some position and he showed like, a stronger player would just instinctively play here because they have like more of a sensitivity about the Liberties.
Yeah.
And one Liberty difference is,
enormous.
Because think about anytime you have like a semi-I, like a capturing race, it's like you win by one Liberty or you lose by one Liberty, right?
All the time, yeah.
It will change your game if you pay attention to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Atari looks good. And
Atari was, I think Atari was actually not great simply because it's not actually Sente, and so I feel like it's not the
oh, that's
worst
true.
move.
It's not Sente.
It's still an okay move, but it's not the best.
Yeah. And this, I
Lucky
was just
connected.
thinking it's a pleasant in game for black, but it's not important.
And if he does that, I'm so happy that he made me so thick. So
Yeah, to making amazing shape. Yeah. Okay, it's true. So then why don't we see this as a mistake then?
So the reason it's not like an outright mistake, I think AI said it maybe loses like a point or something like that. Is that I am going to get like a good follow up out of it. And having that Atari there also means that if black tried to cut at E14, I'm going to be like much more prepared to deal with it. But yeah, still, it wasn't the biggest move. I should have just moved on.
And there's lots of ways of connecting, and this is the most standard. I thought this black move was just a flat out mistake.
It makes sense, right? But it's just a little too early and a little too slow to be
Yeah,
protecting that one stone.
that stone's not going to be. I'd rather play here.
Deal with the top. Or there, yeah, that's better.
I mean, oh, please. Oh, my God, my stone's dying. It just doesn't mean anything. Yeah.
I think AI was saying that black should play at M17 instead of C9. Just deal with the top.
Then you finally get around to doing that. Okay. So here we have this Joseki that just this last year I've started to get an actual handle on and be able to see intuitively, if I can use that word, the cut here.
Yeah.
Now, this is a problem for me. So let's
I was hoping he didn't know that one because I saw he had the ladder.
So there's a ladder here. Now I'm thinking if we look at the basic form, so this is something I don't understand. White has Sente. Well, let's just do it. I'm not saying this well. So white has 2, that's the first and second line, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 points.
Yeah, about there.
Black has, now there's white Sente moves around, well, just A, Sente to connect under. So this is not, that's not a thick area for black. His thickness is out here. We in somewhat agreement?
The center, yeah.
Yeah. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. White has significantly more. Let's see. White has played 2, 4, 6. Black has played 6. So the value should be the same, but it's not, and white has Sente. I've never seen the equity here.
And I guess to add to what you're saying, just for context, if black can do this variation, it's usually considered that this is actually slightly better for black than white. Not even.
Yeah. And yet white has more points and white has Sente.
I think I can show a couple things that might explain it.
Control.
And so the main thing is there's still Aji with this stone. So like if you cut, right, obviously you have this sort of thing. And if you don't do that, then you end up getting to like squeeze from this side. So you actually get more, like even more forcing moves on the outside. I don't actually.
Black starts getting thick on the outside. Those extra stones go away, and that adds quite a bit of points.
Right. So either white's going to lose some points, or black's going to get thicker than it is already, or both. I forget.
Okay.
Insong showed a bunch of different moves. There's also like
Go ahead. You still have
N17.
control.
There's moves like this. There's basically different ways that this Aji can be used. So the white corner is not as big as it looks. The other thing I would point out though is that like Black is so happy to just be done with this and to be strong
Yeah.
and not have to worry about this, right?
Yeah.
When we look at this and we started here, and if I played kind of how I should have, right? This is a situation where Black's going to be uncomfortable for quite some time.
For quite some time, yeah.
And White is going to gain on both sides. So allowing Black to become strong so easily, I think, is also part of why.
Okay,
can be
so
pretty happy
let me
about
try
that.
to encapsulate some of this. If we look at the upper right in a global sense, holy cow, White is just doing a jig.
In charge, yeah.
The top, the right, the center, and Black, his next move, I want to try to live in this big area. Okay, so White's pretty happy. To get the Panuki, everything changes.
Yep.
So that's step one.
That Panuki is like dramatically reducing my top
time.
side and my right side. It's like, oh, that's kind of hurts.
Now that I've understood. And so, yeah, got it. But now that we're seeing this, and we're saying the Aji of A, at the very least, gives Black this
sort of thing,
which immediately adds
to the right.
All of this immediate value, bare minimum, which immediately we're right about equity, value-wise, not considering Black's overall health, center control. Okay, much better.
Can I show one more detail about this?
Please.
Because it's good to know. So there's another move for White here, which this will make sense to you, Lance, because you like when you put the Atari in to break a ladder.
Yeah.
So you can do this sort of thing, right? And if Black answers, now there's not going to be any ladder. And so this gets tricky. And so Black isn't going to play this way, but if he did, then he has to start doing stuff like this.
Yeah.
And either way, right? Now he's disconnected, and even if he plays this one, still we can run out. There's no ladder.
Yeah.
So basically, what will happen here, typically, if we do this one, is Black's going to make a switch, and this would be playable, right? This Panuki's not bad, but obviously Black got
big corner and comfort, yeah.
But just that's when you can use if the ladder becomes an issue.
Yeah, very nice. Stop it. Okay, take control. So we got to here. Black comes in, which I thought on many levels was a terrible move.
I think it is a bit too fixated locally. Like maybe he's looking at P18 or something like that, but I think it's just not the time in the opening yet to be worried about
and with
things like that.
First of all, it has nothing, it's not associated with any of the Aji White has. Like the one you pointed out. That's a show, I mean, bam, right away we see, oh, there's this, there's all these things. But this one isn't. Secondly, how's he going to live in there? I mean, I'm not saying he can't live, but it's not going to be all that easy. So I thought that was a particularly bad move.
I think M17 is actually the beginning of Black becoming busy in the game because, not only are we not capturing the ladder stone, which is like a debt, right? Because there's going to be a ladder breaker, which this approach right now is actually a ladder breaker. So we've got the ladder breaker debt, and we also have that single stone up there, which, as you showed, I can separate and attack, right? So we're going to start to see the problems just
So
for black.
let's point out the difference. Let's say black actually captures. I guess I just want some viewers to try to understand the great value of this, but we've talked about that. Instead, let's look at
Well, we'll see how it becomes annoying for black later.
so
And it always happens that way, right? Because when I try to do the same thing where it's like, no, I'm not going to capture the ladder stone. I'm going to be tricky and I'm just going to deal with it, right? And it just leads to trouble every time.
Now, I've actually found consistently over the years when I try to play bad moves in an attempt to bully a weaker player, even though they have no idea what they're doing, the debt's still there and still comes to, and they have no idea that it's happening. I can see it happening, but they can't.
That's funny.
But it's still happening.
That's funny.
Okay, so black has a debt at A. That's a problem. He's not actually settled yet. Now he has a weak stone in our strong area. So that's two problems. And so it just starts building. And that's what Ryan had already said. Okay. We come in. Is this a ladder thing?
Yeah. And so this is when I started to feel like, okay, I think this game is going to go pretty well for me. I mean, I already felt that way because the top left is much better than Joseki, right? Like completely surrounded on the top and the bottom, or the right side and the bottom. So that was better than Joseki. But I just have from my own experiences where when you start playing weird moves like this to like, oh, I got to make sure that I still have the ladder. It doesn't end up well, right? You're having to play non-standard moves to deal with the fact you have this dead on the board. And it means that white's going to get just a better result locally, like every time.
I'm going to put this here for a second and mention something. And let's just make a black white exchange. Just I want the board to be a little bit clean. So let's pretend for a moment that both players have played great. This is pretending. And let's put a black stone here. So this, what I'm saying is, this is the board, and I'm obviously not saying this well. If we see this board position, and I ask myself, and I'm saying, well, we both played pretty good, but heck, I'm ahead. How do you know that? Because A stone's wasted.
Right.
There's little things like this where it's like, oh, but it looks like I might be behind. It looks so even. No. This A stone's wasted. Immediately, there's a feeling of confidence. I didn't say that well, but hopefully someone caught that. Come down, breaks the ladder. He re-breaks it.
I think the proper response to F3 is still just to capture ladder stone, because D4 is fine. So
and it's not like white's gain anything on the bottom. There's so many white stones there. Here's another very questionable move.
The shape is a little weird, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is the standard, and really, I mean, basically we're here, right?
Yeah, that looks a lot better locally. I think if black wants to, he could also just take Sente and play like J17.
Yeah, back to this, or get rid of this problem, or continue here, or anything, A little Sente to create the cut and jump out for strength and points. Yeah, very nice little sequence. And we don't think of H2 as small. We think of it as life, reverse Sente, as it were, breaking into the black's bottom area.
Yeah, playing in a big area
strong enough where now
actually feels great playing there.
Yeah, really nice move. Yeah. Okay. So one thing I'm seeing, so let's kind of go through the board here. These two stones look awkward to me.
Yeah.
But there's no particular points associated with them.
Exactly. And you're not going to kill them.
Yeah. We're not going to kill them. And if black comes down saying, I got rid of that, it's small, gote, really doesn't mean anything. Okay, so we can wait on that. Okay, good. Next. We have the ladder. And we might be thinking, oh, I'll do something, I don't know. It's like, it's just silly. It's not, we have to wait for that stone to mean something. I mean, we have to do this move naturally, is what I'm saying. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it to me it felt a little unnatural to like try to find the right spot on like the sector line to break the ladder. Rather than doing something like the attachment where black really has to answer,
Right. So like you, I might start something here because the fight is going to bring about the ladder for me.
Exactly.
Something like that, yeah. Okay, so the ladder, we're waiting on that. Absolutely ridiculous to play this way. Okay. Then we have our A stone, which at the moment, I mean, whatever we do, he's going to live. So I'm not feeling a rush to play there. Like, well, maybe I don't want to take profit with my wall. It's silly. That's a waste of a wall. So we're not going to do that. All those things bring us back to area 1. Sound good so far?
Yeah, and I was just looking at the Aji, there's the cut at D5. There's also a placement at C6 associated with that cut that threatens to connect under. And then the last move he just played, he's like thin next to thin, right? Right next to my stones. Two spaces between each of his stones. That's thin next to thin. And then in the middle, like you mentioned, as we imagine running out, there's like, 6 or like 8. There's a bunch of moves in the center that are going to activate that ladder too.
Yeah.
So it just seemed like I should be able to do something there.
Yeah. Now to this, I'm going to add this gap.
Yeah, right. The sky is open,
yeah.
They say.
So for Q players, when you're looking at this left area, I can imagine a lot of Q players, you're being afraid. Oh, he's got so many points that what am I going to do? But you have to get this view of first, there's this BC. He's cut. Black is cut. Oh, but a cut doesn't work. Doesn't matter. Black is cut. Next, and this thing that Ryan pointed out here, thin next to thin. But do Q players even notice this? I don't know. But it's, in my mind, foundationally valuable.
One of your quotes that I always remember, Lance, from back in the day is white's closer to black than black is, right?
I remember. I've said that so many times.
Look, some like my stones there, and they're thick stones, right? The white stones, they're one space away from black. But black is 2 spaces away from black. So it's like
white's closer to black than black is. Yeah. It doesn't look that way, but when you go, wait a minute. CB, thin, huge gap, so I can run to the center easily.
Plus the ladder breaker. Yeah.
Plus the ladder breaker. It's like, it's just easy as pie. Now, how to do it, that's a whole nother story. But to start with the idea that it's just easy. Okay, so that creates an attitude. Okay, so now let's talk about how to start. Because I honestly don't know. I just take a good guess. Professional walks up and goes, oh, obviously. Great. It's not obvious to me. So what I do, am I ready to cut? No, that's for later. Okay, so that's not on the ticket right now. I'm seeing the biggest gap is the thin next to thin, along with the ease of running out.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to find a good way of saying this. Gap number one, gap number two, Aji number three, and big hole in the center for running out. What move says all four of those things at once?
Yeah.
Bam!
It's kind of like in the middle of all the problems.
All four things at once in Sente.
Right.
Wow, don't play Gote here. All four in Sente. I want some Q player who's watching this to go, holy cow. Do you mean it's just like some intuitive? Yeah. I play Go
Basically.
intuitively up to 5 down. I did not know how to read out. Really, you think no one believes me? I honestly played intuitively up to 5 down. When I realized that I could not get to 6 down without reading, I figured out how to read, and it was big difference in my game. But this is such a perfect example. So 1, 2, 3, 4, bam. I just want some light to turn on for some Q player, even a Dom player going, oh, I see. Okay, enough said. I'm just so excited by it. I'm trying to live there and plant a tree and all like that. Come out. Honey looks awfully natural.
Getting
Getting near the
closer
cut,
to the cut.
closer to the cut, getting ready to say Atari. Yeah, very natural. And have we read anything out yet? I haven't. I'd play here and just, duh, where next? Duh, where next? Dare I fill? Yeah, I dare. He's got, of course. Oh, it's just flowing so naturally. Down.
Yeah, I think this was. It looks like a very innocuous move, but I think this was. I don't know if it's like an outright mistake, but this became a problem for Black. I think he probably should have just connected at C10.
Yeah.
Because as we'll see, um, Black having so many cuts makes it really easy for me to just like push out very powerfully into the center.
So, for instance, Sente to kill something.
Yeah.
That's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Sente to kill something. And assuming he fixes, we see a ladder sort of thing here. We link that with, oh, now something dies if he doesn't respond.
Yeah.
Well, that was easy.
And if Black just had connected at C10, it's not like I'm going to get anything. Yeah. I don't have room to live there anyways, right? So you might as well play that.
So none of those worked anymore. Yeah, that's a big difference. Those are great things for people to see. So here, I would think, well, this now works. Maybe I should just play it and not make any more risk because it just works. It just seems to not be big enough, you know? Maybe it is big enough because there's still Aji there.
It probably is big enough to win the game, just because there was already a lead on the board. And when I was playing this, like I agonize over these games. Like, so every single move I'm checking, like, oh, should I play the placement connecting to connect or threatening to connect under now? Should I do the cut now? Does the cut work now? And I'm checking it over and over, and I'm like, oh, it seems like I should just keep pushing out, right? Because this is becoming more and more of a burden for Black, and you don't want to release them of that burden so easily by giving up.
Yes. And as clean as this is, I feel like Black got away with murder. There's so many problems. Even a simple exchange like this looks easy, and Black has weaknesses everywhere. So this idea you mentioned of agonizing, I can't stop myself from always searching for what more is there? And you have the same thing. And this is not good for winning games. This is good for launching into the next level, so
Right.
that the greatness becomes commonplace rather than, yeah. I never try to win games. I try to find where's, what's good. Okay. So you came straight up. Seems rational here. And that means yeah.
Yeah, there might be something worth saying here because depending on the board position, right? Like pushing like that, in some cases, it's like, oh, well, isn't that really heavy? Like,
Oh,
isn't like that looks like white's moving really slowly. Don't we
yeah,
want to
it
move
does.
faster than that? But it's because on this board, because of B9 and all of those cuts, these moves actually, from my perspective, and it seemed like AI agreed, like these are keeping maximum pressure on black and black's weaknesses to where it's like, what are you going
Yeah.
to do about that group that's underneath, right? That's
Yeah.
about to be surrounded.
So it's almost like saying this white move, I'm not trying to get out. If I was trying to get out, I would go further. I am specifically
Keeping pressure on
looking at your two cuts.
you.
You have two cuts. What are you going to do? Well, you can't cut me. Yeah, but you can't surround me either because of you. So it's keeping the weaknesses active.
And
It's
as long
not.
as long as I get out of here,
Yeah.
even not um, thinking about the group underneath, like that's obviously isn't going to be settled. But if you look at the board, black's got what, like 6 to 8 points in the top left. There's no
Yeah.
points
Black's got
basically.
no points here.
There's no territory anywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Before we started this review, Ryan and I chatted a little bit about points, and neither of us particularly pay attention to the score. I still think he does more than I do. But in this case, one thing I would notice if I was playing is that there's almost no points in the A group.
Yeah.
I mean, 5, I don't know. And at this point, assuming I live, which of course I'm going to, he has nothing with B. He has almost nothing. He's got no points anywhere.
Yep.
And I do. So I'm like, without counting, it's like, I'm very happy. And somehow that's important too. I'm learning about that, so that's why I'm saying it. I've been working on a nasty cold for about 2 weeks now, so sorry if I'm sniffling a lot. Okay, so this move makes a lot of sense. The Hanes, you just walk out. It's so simple. Out and out.
This one needs a little forethought because we're cut, right? So the important thing to notice here is that white has C6 at any time, which will allow us to connect under.
Okay.
So if black
if
were to
he
cut,
cuts us, this is Sente to kill.
I would play one lower than that.
Okay, yeah.
C6.
I wouldn't, because can't he save?
Then I'll just connect under at B4.
Okay, now you're reading out that it's all going to work for you and you don't die. And I'm not saying that's hard. I'm just, and I intuitively, I think you're right, but somehow this is so straightforward.
That's true for actually capturing the cutting stone.
That's just like, it just works.
Yeah. The important thing here though is like, you do have to put some thought in before like playing H7.
Yeah.
Like you do need to have a plan because white is cut there.
So I would probably play this now, which has to be incorrect because he's happy to give him up.
That's the problem, right?
Yeah.
Like allowing that turn is like,
yeah.
If I have to do that, I will. But if I can come out and keep maximum pressure, then it's so much more difficult for black to deal with.
Then you play it, and may as well play it, and cut. because this is unclear. Black has too many options. Let's force them to decide right now.
Yeah, and this
That's
is a
what.
detail thing, but I think I should have just cut at E10 instead. There's no point in giving a stone up here, but it's about the same.
Yeah, a lot of details here.
So all of those are exchanges were basically to make sure I could come out in Sente.
Yeah. Okay, so not only did we do a deep invasion of Area 1, we just killed his group outright. Now, I recall feeling it myself, this idea of dawn magic. Oh my God, how did you do that? Like, what do you mean? I just put one foot in front of the other. It was so, obvious. I have a memory of when I first got 6 dawn, I used to tour all the clubs to share my wares, to expose my wares, and just say, this is who I am. And so, I was down in the Santa Cruz club, and there was one Don was the strongest player down there, so we set up our 5 stones and played. And he had a big moyo, and I came in to the moyo and did my business and casually walked out. And there were 4 people watching, and in unison, all the heads turned and said, "That was beautiful." I remember it to this
They're
day because it was
mesmerized.
so funny. And I
How'd you
just
do
did the
that?
most obvious moves you could think of. And to them, it was dawn magic. And the smile on your face, and you totally know that feeling. And here's you did it. You did it against a 2 dawn or whatever he is. Yeah, very straightforward. Just paying attention to basic things. Yeah, very, very nice. Yeah, that's. Is there nothing he can do there? Whoa. Why aren't you, first of all, why aren't you surrounding him?
I think it gets a little dicey. I can't remember what my reading was, but I had read some variations, and it looked like, okay, maybe I'm.
I see. So you still have to come back.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
there's some stuff here. Okay. So that makes sense.
and in my mind, the goal was always to get out. Like if I end up killing something, that's cool, but I don't need to kill that group
You don't
to
need to
win this
kill.
game. Yeah.
And you saw me fall for, and we're kill the group. It's like, no, let it go. You wanted to invade, you succeeded magnificently. It doesn't matter if black lives.
And I'm also like looking at the outside this entire time, right? So those cuts I made, there's still Aji there, right?
Yeah.
There's
Absolutely.
I
Gosh,
can pull stones out.
huge.
I can play Ataris. Then I can start bringing the ladder stone out at
Yeah,
Q13. Like there's so much other stuff.
Yeah. So that's a trap that I just fell into. Is you don't try to look how strong J2 is. Holy cow. Beautiful. Oh, it's a great move. It just doesn't kill. Even if it killed, play this way. Don't take the risk. Okay. He comes out. You come out beautifully. Thank you very much.
I think I went a little too far here. If you could pass control real quick.
Yeah.
And this move is fine, but I think there was a more straightforward way to play. This is just like a Tsuji shape, so I was like, oh, I feel so happy playing this this shape. But in this case, I think keeping the same attitude I had back here with just like I'm gonna forcefully push out. This is much harder for black to deal with, right?
This is true.
Still 3 in a row is not enough. Still 3 in a row is not enough, right? And there's no way I'm getting into trouble like this.
Yeah.
But the reason I played this one, or part of the reason I played this one is, for example, let's just say he does something to fix. Like this just works. Those 2 stones are dead. And but yeah, I got a little carried away. Got a little too fancy there. Yeah. So now he cuts me, and like it's still fine, but it could have been clearer than it actually is.
Yeah. I've always found one of the hardest things for me is, you have $200 bills in front of you. One blues, one is yellow. Which one?
Yeah, they're
Like,
both good. So which one
you
do you
have
pick?
two wonderful moves. I find myself it hurts. Like, I don't know which one to play.
Like, well, which one is 2% more wonderful?
Yeah. Okay. Boom. He cuts. You come down. Tari down is just dead. Yeah, there's nothing. Just nothing. I love that move. Oh, this is one of my
Here's
favorite
where
procedures.
I started getting a little carried away.
Oh, in this, we usually just follow it with Atari, save,
Right.
Atari, save, come out. I mean, it's so standard. Black shape is so bad. But coming out, I don't see a problem. I'm out, up. Still got that. It's so painful for him.
The
Now his
problem here, though, is I lost Sente. So, like, there was a point, like, I could play a bunch of Sentes, but basically I needed to come back and play E7 um, and just strengthen my shape up. And if I do that, the entire lower left is dead.
yeah, lots of
Because
ways of killing. Yeah.
yeah,
And you didn't quite. Yeah.
because I didn't do that. You can see AI wants black to cut at F7 there, like a move before. And luckily he never did, but I could have had some problems actually.
Some trouble.
I got a little carried away. But finally I got that move that I need for increase.
And it's just over. So you got a little carried away and you didn't lose a one game, but you got surprisingly close.
Surprisingly close, yeah. I think in the end it went from and this part's a little embarrassing. So, but this shows just like how tunnel vision you can get.
Yeah.
I'm like playing all these moves to make sure that I maintain a Seki between, because he's got one eye now. So I'm like, oh, I need to maintain my eye. So it's eye versus eye, and that we can't kill each other. But I can just play at Q2 or Q3 and kill his stones on the outside. There's no Seki. So I got just completely, I just completely got up.
And that happened, obviously.
It happens,
we're talking about
yeah,
things that happens to everybody, yeah.
So here I am playing like a 0-point move almost, maybe a 1-point move.
Yeah.
When I could just play at like Q2 and win by 100 points. It's like
Okay, good. Well, thanks for letting me ask so many questions.
Yeah, this is fun.
Yeah, it is fun. And we us Go players have the tunnel vision, the ego. For me, ego's a big part. It's just ruined so many of my games. Yeah. Okay, good. Well, thank you so much.
All right. Thanks.
Viewers, I'm hoping you all got great stuff from it. And I'm sure I'll put this into 2 parts so it's not too long. Okay, viewers, catch y'all later.